Just a couple things, just to illustrate what will be happening. We'll be having a conversation about the history of first of what happened in Roma in the very next minutes after the Armistice of September 8, 1943, and then how this is represented by the dedicated Tank Duel scenario in Tank Expansion number 1, which sees, of course, it is abstracted, but which sees the struggle between some German stacks and some Italian Semovente, the self-propelled guns. And we will be describing what happened a few weeks ago here in Rome with our gaming group, gaming club, LudoStoria, when we had a very, very, very special session, gaming session of Tank Duel in a very, very special place. And I'm leaving some surprises here, but it will be, I hope, very interesting. Oh, maybe you have seen some of the videos I posted on the text channel. Those videos are YouTube videos. They're available on YouTube, and they're all actual historical documents. Some of them are published by the Istituto Luce, which is the National National News Institute of Italy, and they start from July 25th, 1943. I published them on the channel in actual chronological sequence, just to let you understand what Italian people were hearing on the radios. There was no TV, but they were hearing on the radios and reading in the newspapers since July 25th, 1943. And just to get you in the actual mindset of Italian citizens in that incredible, astounding summer of 1943, just to understand what happens after that. Okay, I think that we can. Start. We will be, as I said, I wanted to make this panel because sometimes I see that outside of Italy, the topic of the Armistice is treated in a very conventional way. You see, okay, the Italians were losing, the Italian army had terrible setbacks on all the military fronts of World War II, which is absolutely true. Mussolini was overthrown, the Italians surrendered, and then the struggle, they somewhat switched sides, and then the struggle went on and on, the campaign in Italy, and then after that, 1944, okay, it's Normandy, Italy, the Italian theater is no longer so much important. This historical narration does not take into account many factors, one of which is that from 1943 to June 1944, that is from the Sicily landing up to the Normandy landings, World War II in Europe for the Allies was Italy, and just Italy, essentially. So that was the main effort was given. This means that if you were an American citizen in 1943, all you got from Europe was news coming from the Italian campaign. And what happens? Okay, we will see now. I am going to share some historical photos. Okay, let's see, to get you to make you understand what happens. Okay. The idea is that before sharing, we get starting from what I published in the text channel, July 25th, during a terrible and an incredible night. The Grand Council of Fascism, that is the highest fascist body in Italy, that was more or less governing Italy, even if it is a bit complicated, essentially overthrew Mussolini from inside the fascist party, of course, with the knowledge of the king and the army. Just after that, just after July 25th, 1943, Marshal of Italy, Pietro Badoglio, is made prime minister. From the outside, everything is sold out to the public as a normal government crisis, nothing incredible. The fact is that everybody understands that the fascist regime in Italy, essentially, it is over. On the very same day, July 25th, the Corpo d'Armata Motocorazzato, the Motorized and Armored Army Corps, is instituted. This is very important. On the very same day, this is the main body, the Army Corps, that is tasked with defending Rome. But from whom? There is a great confusion because from July 25th to September 8th, essentially Italy is still fighting against the Allies together with the Germans, but it is very complicated. Nobody understands exactly why do we need a specialized army corps to defend Rome when the main struggle is in Sicily, it is in southern Italy. The answer comes on September 8th, 1943. And then on July 25th, 1943, people are cheering after the deposal of Mussolini. People are cheering on the streets for the king. And they're already throwing down the fascist symbols. So essentially, this is an interregnum in which those 2 months, Italy is still fighting against the Allies, but it is every single day less and less subject to the fascist rules. Fascist leaders are running away, and it is a very confused time. On September 8th, 1943, you hear the third document I posted on the channel, that is Marshal of Italy Pietro Badoglio, that is the prime minister, saying, okay, the struggle is unequal. I spoke with General Eisenhower, commander of Anglo-American forces, Allied forces, and we surrendered. So every hostility from Italian forces has to cease. But there is a last phrase, and that last phrase is, we will defend against attacks coming from any other sources. And now you understand why an motorized army corps is instituted around Rome. The other forces are the Germans. Okay, now I'm going to share the video. Okay, this is us. This is the LudoStoria Gaming Club, and this is playing the Tank Duel scenario September 8, about September 8, 1943, and you will see where we played and what is the story about this. Okay, this is Rome on September 8, 1943. The day starts late. The proclamation by Badoglio is made on at 1942. That is 7:42 p.m. At the moment in Rome, there are three main commanders: Generals Ambrosio, General Carboni, and General Roatta. They are at the command of the motorized and army corps. General Badoglio is speaking with whom? With Eisenhower. Eisenhower has promised the Operation Giant 2. What is Operation Giant 2? Operation Giant 2 is essentially, since we are now landing in Salerno, exactly in these very same days, the landings at Salerno started on September 3, we will send a unit, an army, an airborne unit, American unit, and they will make a combat launch on Rome just after the Armistice. But Badoglio, has many doubts about the possible success of these operations, and tells the Americans, do not launch your troops. We are not sure, because everybody was thinking that the Germans were retreating, and they were not. This is a very confused moment. There is a specific plan. The specific plan is OP-44. This is the American troops now landing at Salerno. This is General Roatta. General Roatta conceived the OP-44 contingency plan that was the active defense of Rome and the active attacks against the German forces to make them get out of the city. But this was not put into action. The motorized army corps is immediately transferred. The main bodies are transferred to Tivoli, which is on the north of Rome, as a town on north of Rome. Why? Because the king has decided to run away. Has decided to run away to Pescara, to the other side of the Adriatic, and then to the south of Italy. And so also Roatta gets to Tivoli. The motorized army corps, the main bodies, are not activated. They are shifted to Tivoli. And in Rome, there are just 3 divisions, a regiment, and some other forces. 3 divisions are Granatieri di Sardegna, Infantry Division, Divisione Sassari Division, Ariete 2nd Division. Yes, that same Ariete. It is a reconstituted Ariete Division, Armored Division after the events in North Africa, and the Lancieri di Montebello Regiment, the regiment of Montebello's Lancers, that is. And though the Lancieri di Montebello, they have the Semoventes, the self-propelled guns. Okay, the Germans, of course, they are already reacting. Marshal Kesselring is already acting Operation Axe. That is Operation Axis, that involves not just getting away, but actively getting control of Rome by a double envelopment maneuver from the north and to the south. And why is that? Because you would think the Allies are landing at Salerno. I should just transfer my troops as soon as possible to Salerno, or rather withdraw. Why? Because around Rome there are many military depots of weapons, fuel, ammunition, most of which is compatible with the German equipment, and Kesselring decides that he wants to keep Rome. Possibly the main objective is to actually capture Badoglio. And maybe put even more chaos into the Italian situation. Kesselring constitutes Kampfgruppe Grosse in the north with the very mission to capture Badoglio. They almost get it. In at Monterotondo, which is a small town around on the north of Rome. They almost get Badoglio. They almost get Roatta, but they manage to escape. There is a combat airborne launch by German Fallschirmjäger at Monterotondo. But that is stopped by the Ariete 2nd Division and the Royal Carabinieri, the Carabiniers, that are traditionally loyal to the king, and they will be at the north. At the end, when the situation in Rome will be finally over, those Fallschirmjägers will be themselves besieged at Monterotondo. That's essentially, this is what happens in the north. In the south, this situation is much more complicated. Why? Because German forces in the south, you see those maybe you see those arrows coming from the south. They are not going towards Salerno, as everybody was thinking. They are not getting to the north. They are actually going for the city. The second, most of them are paratroopers. The 2nd Airborne Division, 2nd German Airborne Division, gets the fuel depots that I spoke about you at Mezzocamino. Essentially here, from where I am speaking now. This is one of the locations of the many battles for around Rome, here at Mezzocamino, and they quickly get those very essential fuel depots. The 9th Grenadier of Sardinia, the 9th Grenadier of Sardinia, are now defending the southern part of the city, and they managed to stop the advance. We are now in the first hours of September 9th. By now, all around Rome, Italian troops are actively fighting Germans everywhere. It is not. There is no more doubts about it. They are actually engaged in active conflict. The Navigator Retinue of Sardinia, they managed to stop the southern advance by the German forces, even using some small field artillery pieces, and there is something of a stalemate in the very early morning of September 9th. In the meantime, the civilian population is arming itself. Political groups, there are communist and socialist groups, but also liberal and democratic groups, mostly around the Partito d'Azione, the Action Party. That is the Republic Neo-Risorgimental, we will say, troops. They get some weapons and ammunitions from the soldiers, from the Carabinieri, and they began building barricades everywhere on the city. An interesting fact is that in those fights, the future president of the Republic, Sandro Pertini, will be fighting alongside the people, and with him many people that will later become ministers or prime ministers of the or political leaders, of major political leaders in the Republican, in the post-war Republican Italy. Also here it is formed the Comitato di Liberazione Nazionale, the National Liberation Committee, the first core of what will become the pro-Allied Italian civilian Italian government, and then the provisional government after the war. All those events will lead to the Italian Republic. This is very important to understand post-war Italy. Why? Because, and it is very essential to our national memory, essentially Republican forces are fighting in Rome against the Germans while the king and the court has escaped. This is one of the main reasons why Italy is now no longer a monarchy, but a republic. Or at least this will be one of those episodes that will very much use it politically after the war. But the problem is that at September, the September 9th is more or less a stalemate. There are many strong points that are instituted by the Italian troops that are fighting. Everybody expects to see American paratroopers coming down from the sky now and then. Some of the military leaders, they actually know about Operation Giant 2. They're expecting those paratroops. They will never come, and they will be used at Salerno. In the south, after the stalemate of September 9th, we get to September 10th, and here the situation comes critical because more and more German reinforcements are coming. They are not just light armored paratroopers units, they are regular infantry units, also armored units, and here come the Stags, the German propelled guns. There are many fights. Here you see around the urban railroads on Italy, and here we have the situation on September 1943. The southern part of the city collapses. All those strong points on Ostiense, at Montagnola, all those neighborhoods of the southern part of the city, one by one, they just keep collapsing because they can no longer keep up the pressure. Also because the troops have no longer ammunition, and they are totally surrendered. As you see in the north, you see those two small arrows. The northern part of the German maneuver does not work. It is stopped, but on the south there is a breakthrough. And the last fights are around Porta San Paolo. That is here where those three. Here is the Montagnola. one of those strong points. And after that, you see, if you follow the arrow, you get to okay, I will try to, okay, you get to Porta San Paolo, where everything and Porta San Giovanni, those 2 points near the center of the city. After that, the Italian military leaders that are still in Rome, they negotiate with the Germans, and they decide for a surrender to spare other destruction to the city. We have had 3 full days of active combats in the streets of Rome. Okay, here you see German paratroopers near Porta San Paolo that are fighting. And here it is. Okay, here it is, Porta San Paolo. Those are the fights. You see those people lying down. You see they have Italian helmets. They are Italian grenadiers fighting against and you see, I think, a Stug here. No, this is a Semoventi. Sorry, this is a Semoventi. This is the Italian line. This is Porta San Paolo. They are the ancient Aurelian walls, those walls, the Roman walls built by the Emperor Aurelian. Everything here is still standing here. And you have a dedication plaque, and that says soldiers of heavy weapons, citizens of any social rank, they struggled against the German invader, and they pointed out the ways of honor and liberty to future Italians. This is considered the first act of the partisan war here in Italy. As you see, September 10th, 1943. One of those strong, and then the city surrendered, and in the defense of Rome was over. One of those points, those strong points in the southern part of the city, it's this building. This building is the Forno Roscioli. It was a bread shop, essentially. And here you see the Cristoforo Colombo. This street leads from the Montagnola, from Eur, from the southern part of the city, up to Porta San Paolo, Porta San Giovanni, and so the center, the very center of the city was the main German objective. And in this very same building, this building was owned by Quirino Roscioli. He was a World War I veteran, you will say, of the Sassari division, one of the divisions involved in the fight. And so when the fight broke out, he just got to his younger comrade Adams and said, okay, you can use my house. This was his house. You can use my house as a company headquarters. And they did. Now inside we get this, the Odin Ludo Pub, that is a gaming pub in the very same building owned by Roscioli. In gaming pub, this is very interesting. Gaming pub are I think quite peculiar to the European gaming scene. There is pubs, actual pubs, where you can have a beer, have a hamburger, get there with friends, and they have game collections, and you can play with other people, role-playing games, board games, and war games. And here we are. These are Gaming Club LudoStoria, where we are playing Cuba Libre, Battlefields of the Napoleonic Wars, Napoleon's Last Battles, you will recognize that, Memoir 44, and on that 3 weeks ago, we played Tank Duel. That's that very same scenario. You see the game collection, and here we are playing the game in one of the historical actual strong points of the battle. This is our symbol, the LudoStoria vest of our game. Okay, here we see Quirino Roscioli da Piastra. This is a plaque, commemorative plaque, and that tells his story. After the withdrawal of the Italian troops, he tried to seek refuge in one of his family homes, but he was captured by the Germans and summarily executed. Okay. Now let's speak about the Tank Duel, the actual Tank Duel scenario. The actual Tank Duel scenario is, of course, abstracted, since Tank Duel is an abstracted game, but keeps some of the actual armored fights that happen in the city. Against whom? against the Italian Semovente 75-18 75-18 Semovente self-propelled gun, this one, and the Stug 3G. Why, and the Germans self-propelled gun, why did they choose those two vehicles? It is quite easy to understand why. Here it is an actual, this is not a replica, this is an historical vehicle, an actual original historical vehicle in a military exposition at the Circus Maximus. And yeah, they fought also around the Circus Maximus, which is not far from Porta San Paolo and Porta San Giovanni. This Circus Maximus is just in the middle between Porta San Paolo and Porta San Giovanni. Because they were small vehicles, very useful for what? For urban fighting. You see, they're quite small. They're not much greater, even the Stag 3G, than a modern pickup van, actually. The Semovente, speaking about the vehicles, the Semovente 75-18 was quite a good vehicle that surprised Italian leaders, also Italian leaders. Why? Because it mounted a 75mm cannon, which was quite good for the time in which it was introduced in service. It saw service in the later parts of the African campaign and in the Sicilian landings, and got a very good reputation. You see, the gun was a small gun, a short gun, which actually hampered its range, but made it even more agile, even faster, a faster vehicle. This was a vehicle made for flanking enemy armored formation, from making ambushes. You can very easily hide such a small self-propelled gun around a corner or behind a hill. It is very useful. And here we see Semovente. I think that it has been hit somewhere, or it has been abandoned. And those, you see, photography shops, those very same shops. Here we are near Porta San Paolo, and I recognize the street. So they fought exactly in those streets. They fought against who? They fought against this. The Stug 3G, it is of course, it is longer than the Semovente. It is a Stug 75mm Surcannone, which is longer and with more range, more penetration. But and it is a very good vehicle, of course. But as you see, it is a bit less adept at urban fighting. This is actually very well represented in the Tank Duel scenario, and we will see very soon. The main characteristic of self-propelled guns, and it is what made them so. I think those are Finnish, used by the Finnish in this photo. They made them so useful that there are two main characteristics. First, they have no turret. This means that even if they are very limited horizontal adjustments possible, 5 or 10 degrees. So when they have to change the orientation of the gun, they have to move the entire vehicle. But after this disadvantage, they are very robust. They have no turret, and having no turret means that they have less wake points. They have some armor traps. You see here under the gun, on the Stug gun, the shell traps where a shot can get inside. In the later models, they use the welded gun mount, and as you see here, these Semovente, they are very robust. A second characteristic, second advantage, they're very easy to build. Which is very good for Italy in World War II, but also for Germany, especially in later stages of the war, because they're very easy to build, very easy to maintain, very easy to drive, and while technically not being considered a tank, that is an armored vehicle capable of engaging in battle against other tanks, doctrinally, they did. and they did very often in World War II. Getting back, you see the first Italian dog. Oh, you see, I think that the one you see on the jeep on the back, this is from North Africa, is Erwin Rommel himself. The very first doctrinal use of the Semovente, for example, was as a supplement, as a support weapon for actual artillery batteries. But even Italian leaders realized that an artillery batters is too behind the front, and those small guys had to get very close to their targets to have an effect. And so after that, the doctrine changed quite rapidly. The same happened for the Stags. The Stags were considered as an infantry support weapon, as an infantry support vehicle. But very soon in 43 and 44 on the Eastern Front, and then on the Western Front, they were actually used as in anti-tank, also in anti-tank role. This model, it is interesting because it is one of the very few Stug 3G actually still in existence, and it is in Tuscany, at Castiglione Fiorentino, and it was a surprise because this is a photo taken by last summer when me and my wife were actually on vacation there, and I turned the corner and boom, I found myself this one. I found myself this is a replica. This is that's been done in a monument, and it is very well preserved. I will not swear that the camouflage is of course it is not authentic, or it is a good reconstruction of the camouflage, but you get an idea. You get quite a good idea what a Stug. If you see with the street signs behind it, you can actually guess how small this vehicle was. You see, it is a bit big, not so much bigger than my own car, and it's quite impressive. And here we go. Okay, what happens, especially on September 9th, on September 10th, on the roads of Rome, is actually represented here on with that tank duel scenario. That tank duel scenario is included in tank expansion number 1. You get okay, here we are. Here we have the Semovente. The Semovente, as you can see from its characteristics, you can see that by the tank duel model, it has a 31% percentage of hitting a target at 1,400 meters with quite a small penetration. This means they are not made for long range engagements. As you see, just a crew of 3 members, a driver, a loader, and a commander that is also a gunner. So they are actually small anti-tanks, small and very capable anti-tanks going around, and they have to engage. As you see the percentage, how it gets much better at after 600 meters, for example, 74%. It is a good percentage with a penetration of 5. 8 if you use the special ammo, but it was very rare to have special ammo in the Italian army. It is the 75mm Obice is howitzer model 34. Okay, let's see the other one, and this is the Stug. Okay, ASFG. Its characteristics are, you see, it can actually engage targets at 100, even up to 2,000 meters, but it is not very good. Percentages get very well at 800 meters, so they are better at engaging tanks at long range with a penetration of 9. You would say that with such a disparity of penetration, the Semovente are no matches for the Stags. But this is where, and they have a crew, or they have a crew of 4. This is where the tank duel model really shines. Why? Because a penetration of 3 by the use of cards, or even more, 5 or 6 of the semovente, if you can get, if you get closer, a penetration of 6 is not enough not so much for getting out a normal tank, but is quite capable of taking out a Stug. So in this scenario, the Stug have a somewhat advantage on the longer ranges, but once you get on the at closer ranges, the situation is a bit more equal. It is a bit more balanced. And here you are on that scenario. Another thing that was very, very common in the Italian army, that is the use of anti-tank guns. This was a lesson learned in North Africa and also in the Eastern Front. The anti-tank guns could be very useful, and they are very, very bad scenario. They're very much more than a simple nuisance. They're very dangerous to the German forces, and also why? Because they are most of the time they're hidden. They have the first shot, and once you get out a tank gun with your Stug, so you're switching to high explosive ammunition to get them out, so you're losing time. The next turn, another anti-tank guns comes out, because they were freely given to infantry formations, and they were perfect for engagements in an urban environment. And as you see, here we are at our gaming pub, playing that scenario. That scenario in particular was over. We had a semovente that was hit and badly damaged, but they actually managed to also, and it was later abandoned, but they managed to damage 2 enemy Stugs. So the match was more or less a draw, more or less as in reality. As you see, also you can play that scenario on the vessel module. On the vessel module, it is a bit more difficult to play that scenario, because the vessel module has both the German and the Italian tanks on the same side, because it is considered as having the Germans and Italians on the same side of the table. This is a very special, very unconventional scenario, but you can play it, and it is very good. Also, we will be playing those scenarios at our gaming concert, the Storicon, which will be held in Rome. So if you happen to be around Rome on February 21st and 22, we will have a great convention with many gaming clubs of historical gaming and also board gaming clubs. We will have war games, role-playing games, board games, everything with an historical setting. And one of those clubs will be having Tank Duel sessions. Also, it is another historical location, not actually involved in a battle, but that has been repurposed by our municipality. Okay, getting here. Okay, the fact is, I wanted to make this panel, as I told you, for two reasons. First, to let people to understand something more about the events on September 8th, 9th, and 10th here in Rome, because they're very important to the Italian history, but also on the World War II, on the Italian front, which was, as I said before, which was the main front, the main World War II front in Europe from 1943 to 1944. After Rome, the war went on. There was a lot, as we said. The more and more the Allies got up north, they were supported by Italian partisan activity. There were other stalemates after Salerno. There was the Cassino on one side of the peninsula and Ortona on the other side. Many criticized the Allied commander for not trying the coup de main on Rome on that occasion. Yes, it was risky. Yes, it was dangerous. but that could have forced Kesselring to withdraw all his troops, at the very least, from Salerno, and possibly not being able to defend then the position at Cassino and avoid the landings at Anzio and so on and so on. Also, the very first plan of the Salerno landing also included a possible second landing even north of Rome, possibly in conjunction with the actions by the Italian troops. The problem is that there was a lot of mistrust by the Allies. With the Italians, there was a lot of mistrust by the Italians regarding the Allies, and so this coordination was very difficult. The second reason why I decided to make this panel is to show how even a simple and relatively simple and relatively abstract game such as Tank Duel can correctly portray very complicated actions like urban fights in an urban environment, and even very peculiar historical episodes like the defense of Rome on September 8th to September 10th, 1943. I really like Tank Duel, and I consider it one of the very best tank games out there, even if it has not a map, because, as I always say, tank drivers, tank commanders do not get the luxury of having a constantly updating map, especially during World War II. They just see the outside world behind that tiny slot in the hull of the armored vehicle, or if they have the courage of putting their heads out the turret with much danger to themselves. And so this game really gives you that feeling. Yes, many people spoke about a comparison with Upfront for infantry actions. Yeah, and this really captures the idea of going around one of those tin cans, shooting at other tin cans without really seeing each other, bumping into terrain. The urban terrain in this scenario is particularly treacherous. You get rubble, which give you a very good cover, but a very high probability of getting bogged down. And if you're bogged down in a self-propelled gun, what does it mean? It means that essentially you are no longer able to shoot at anyone, or because you can no longer traverse your gun, you can no longer move your vehicle, so you lose time, and then you get also other shots from those pesky anti-tank guns. This scenario can be played also with infantry, which I think it will be very good to play it with infantry, also to represent the civilian population and the infantry troops, the Italian infantry troops fighting around against the German Fallschirmjäger amongst those vehicles. And it may seem a bit strange, but even these apparently abstract model, such as Tank Duel, really manages to capture the essence of the urban armored fight, also among vehicles that are not exactly designed to fight each other, such as the Semovent and the Stug, and so you get this sense of improvisations, and it's a very, very dynamic scenario. I recommend Tank Duel to anyone. I think that GMT has a second printing coming out of P500. Also, it's many expansion. The North Africa expansion, it's great, and but also the expansion number one with the tank back, with other tanks and scenarios and other peculiar situation is very, very, very good. Okay, thank you. If you have other questions about the situation, the Italian campaign, those stages, thank you. If not, I thank you. Thank you for having been here during this panel. Have a great convention, and see you around on the server with the other great events by the SDHist Online. Last thing, I want to thank the SDHist as always staff for getting this convention also accessible to European players with the time zones, with the EU-friendly time zones event. I understand that this is quite early in the morning for you, but it is always good to be able to come here and speak with our friends from all over the world and share our common passion for history and wargaming.
Curto, one quick question.
Yeah.
Do you have a published copy of your scenario setup?
The scenario setup, I think it is included. I think it is on the GMT page. I understand, but it is on the tank pack expansion. I'm not the designer of that scenario, of course, but I think, let me see, it is just to give you the exact coordinates, GNT, Tank Duel. They made quite a few expansions. Duel series, okay, here we are. Tank Duel, no, you have Tank Duel expansion, North Africa. It is not the tank pack. The tank pack #1 expansion. And you get the tank pack #1 use booklet, but I think you need the I think it can be played. You need to have the North Africa expansion to be able to play that, because the Semoventes, the Italian self-propelled guns are in the North Africa expansion.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Thank you very much. Great presentation.
Thanks to you. And last thing, it has been been very moving, a real feelings for us to be able to play Tank Duel, a scenario Tank Duel about September 8th, 9th, and 10th in one of the historical locations of the battle. And this is really, it is really incredible. It has been a great day. Thanks.
Very nice.
Thanks to all you.
Ricardo, thank you very much. Great detail for me. I had no idea. And that makes me excited for the new GMT game coming out. That's Ortona.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
Ortona, I've been there too, Jeffrey, and I can tell you, when you get to Ortona, much of it has been reconstructed. Okay. Oh, the very first thing you see in Ortona is a Canadian Sherman tank, of course. That is in the first roundabout when you get to Ortona, and you see the terrible. Much of it has been reconstructed, but the topography, the map of the city is the same, and you see this big long avenue that gets from the beginning of the city up to the sea. It is a straight line with all the rest of the city on the left, on the right, around that, and you understand that this avenue is a natural killing zone, because you can put a single 88 at the end of that avenue, and you essentially you have a perfect fire lane all around for all of the city. And then at the sides of this avenue, you have the classic ancient medieval city of Italy, with very narrow alleys, which leads to perfect defensible terrain, perfect urban terrains, and it is called the Stalingrad of the Adriatic, not by chance. And at the end of this avenue, when finally you got to conquer, to control all the city, you get an ancient Spanish fort that is very, very, very hard to get. And this really, you need, I always say, but this I learned at Gettysburg when I was at Gettysburg as a young man, when I was 13. You need to get on the actual battlefields, on the actual places, to understand the battle. And when if you ever get to Ortona, which is now, it is a wonderful city, it's a beautiful tourist city, you really understand the reason why that battle took so long, why it was so violent, why it was so hard, And why it had to be defended? Because after Ortona, essentially you get up to you get the great port of Pescara, and then you get up to the northern Italy. You have no other obstacles. So Ortona, yes, and it is essentially on the same line of Cassino. We have Cassino here on the Tyrrhenian Sea, that is on the western side of the Italian peninsula, and we have Ortona here on the eastern side of the Italian peninsula. And there is the line. This was the defensive line. Very, it is very clear why the battle was fought so hard.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
I'm going to move on to another seminar. Thank you very much.
Bye. Bye, everyone.